folks. This is a new podcast from the Two Mics, and I'm going to give you old energy boy MG to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike, Porky, Parry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Ha, 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 ha.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The Two Mics on Talk Sport.
Night and morning, I drink warnings and vodka.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mics and we're in for Colin Murray. It's a watershed year for Wayne Rooney. Will it be his last as a top-class footballer? He doesn't think so. He seems to think he'll be playing for Manchester United and England for some time to come. And so why on earth is he having a testimonial? Isn't that for players who have come to the end of their careers? 08717 22 3344. We'll be celebrating another great weekend of sporting activity, asking why Everton wants 75 million quid for Lukaku and why Porky has managed to mash up his car's front wheel. Plus, we'll have another edition of Heroes and Villains as well. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics, and I'm delighted to say that it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
A very good morning to you, Mike.
And welcome back.
And of course... rabbits.
Wow, God.
It's August the 1st.
Yeah, I know.
It's August the 1st. You say rabbits on the 1st of each month.
No, you don't. I don't. I never say it.
Who's this?
I don't know. Bugs Bunny.
What's up, Doc? Yeah.
Bugs Bunny.
See? Rabbits.
That's what you've been thinking about starting the show with, is it? You've been here since about 6 o'clock this morning.
That's
the best you can come up with.
Absolutely.
By the way, we're back in our rightful place. We're back in the studio, which has been properly refurbished, looking very fine and dandy. And
I have to say,
the windows have disappeared.
Well, I don't really mind that, to be honest. I think it looks great. It looks a bit space age, this new studio, with these new extending arm microphones and...
the lights keep changing colour.
Lights keep changing colour.
You noticed that?
Yeah, a bit like the old stadium I nominated last week.
What stadium?
In Germany.
That was not true, by the way.
Well,
somebody pointed out that actually the lights do not change colour. No, they don't. No,
they do.
It's not true.
What's it called again? I've forgotten. In Munich.
What, the Allianz Arena?
Allianz Arena, that's right. Yeah, they do. They change.
No, apparently not.
I've been there and I've seen them change.
Well, you've seen a lot of things when you've been to football matches, but many other people have never seen them.
They change.
Because you're normally hallucinating by half time.
Because they're used by the two clubs in Munich and they both have different colours, of course.
And the first club is, of course, Bayern Munich. And the other club is?
Is TSV. Munich.
Oh, it's not.
Who is
it's
it?
Club 1860.
1860s. They used to be called TSV.
TSV.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
Weekend not too bad.
I'll just put out a picture of your new car, by the way. I understand you've had some car trouble over the weekend.
Well, I had a bit of trouble with the left wheel, but I haven't. I still have the same car. What are you talking about? New car?
Well, I just put a picture of your new car out. It's a Red Bull car.
What?
With a great big Red Bull tin on the back of it.
Oh,
I
you
assumed
fool.
that was what you came to work in.
Hang on, that's parked outside the front of Talksport Towers. How is that?
I assumed it was yours.
It's not mine, you fool.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, where did that come from then? How could you possibly imagine that would be mine?
Well, because you're always, filling up with Red Bull. You're always, dosing yourself up with it. So I just figured you'd maybe cut out the middleman and just brought a car full of it.
I know what you're talking about.
No.
Anyway, no, there was a slight problem. You see, the problem is that tyres on cars are so narrowly thin these days. So what happened was...
Well, on your car they are, not on everybody else's.
Well, OK, but let's say on posh cars then, OK?
You've got one of those ostentatious wheels,
well, they're very wide wheels, and the thing is...
Do you know what size they are?
19.
19-inch wheels?
Yeah,
so you don't need those?
Yeah. Well,
why do you need those?
I don't know. They came with the car. I didn't choose them. So anyway, the point is that because there's only an inch of rubber between the rim of the wheel and the road, right... I pulled up outside some place on...
Do you mean you hit the pavement?
Well, I'm about to say on Saturday, and the pavement didn't look like a pavement. It looked like a shallow rise of about half an inch off the road. I'm not joking.
Right.
It was that shallow.
But you hit it anyway?
Yeah, well, and the point is...
surely that's bad driving.
Well, no, because I thought my tyre, you see, would be the cushion between the car and the pavement.
No,
in fact,
you're not
I had
supposed
this
to hit
terrible scraping noise.
Because you're not supposed to hit... Yeah, but the point is you're not supposed to hit the pavement as you park. You're supposed to be able to park without hitting the pavement.
And now I'm going to have to go to Whole Foods and get a little tin of silver paint, and I'm going to have to paint the...
Why don't you just get your guy at that tyre place to fix it for you?
Well, a tyre alone costs 170 quid. A wheel...
That's not that much.
A wheel would cost 650 quid.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not paying 650 quid for a new wheel. There's nothing wrong with the old wheel, except that.
Do you remember when we spoke to that guy about the new McLaren car that's coming out?
Yeah.
And he said when somebody scraped his wheel,
yes.
it was £5,000.
£5,000, I know. It's unbelievable, isn't it? But anyway, look, enough of that.
So more careless driving on your part.
Well, no, it wasn't careless driving. It was completely accurate driving. But the point is that the pavement was insufficiently tall to be cushioned by the rubber on the tyre.
Of course, it wouldn't be your fault. Anyway, I don't want to spend the whole show talking about your ridiculous problems with your car and the fact that you can't drive properly.
Yeah.
Instead, I want to talk to you about Wayne Rooney because Wayne Rooney apparently is having a watershed year.
And how can anybody knock him for having a testimonial in which he's going to raise millions of pounds for charity?
Well, it's not about the money he's going to raise.
Him for
no,
this?
It's not. Well, nobody's knocking him.
Yeah,
what I'm
you
saying
seem
is,
to be. You seem to have a bug in your
I'm saying you have a testimonial at the end of your career, right?
Yes.
Now, is it the end of Wayne Rooney's career, yes or no?
No, because if you looked at the interview with Martin Samuel in the Daily Mail this morning, he makes it absolutely clear that he has international ambitions to at least the next World Cup in Russia in 2 years' time.
Exactly.
And if Sam Allardyce picks another captain, he will take that on the chin and play as a member of the squad.
Yeah.
So he's got completely the right attitude towards it.
Well, he may have, but therefore, why is he having a testimonial if he's still in the middle of his career? Because the point is that is supposed to be a sort of a celebration, if you like. And I know that he raises money for charity. I'm not knocking the charity part of it at all.
Yes.
I just think it's the wrong time. I don't think you should be having a testimonial at the start of a season where Manchester United need to win something.
Well, I don't agree with you because, to start off with, he's been there 12 years now.
Yeah.
And 12 years is an awful long time to be at one club.
So what? You mean you've been here 12 years? You want a testimonial?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they grant me one eventually,
really?
You know, because, I mean, let's face it, it's
I would be very surprised,
a significant watershed.
I would be very surprised if they grant you anything, actually.
Really? Yeah, that's
whoever they are. I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the powers that be and all that kind of stuff. You know, we talk in hushed tones about those sort of people around here.
Exactly.
Now, what I was going to say is that you cannot knock Wayne Rooney's charity raising
I'm not knocking that
work over the years. He's raised millions, literally.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm not knocking. I don't mind whether. I mean, he could literally put his hand in his pocket and give £2 million to charity right now.
Yes, he could.
He doesn't need to have a testimonial.
But I think he probably has done as well.
Well, he may well have done. But why is he having a testimonial in the middle of his career? That's what I want to know.
Well, I don't know why you're getting so parsimonious about this.
Because I don't think it's right.
I think it's right to help charitable organisations, and if you're Wayne Rooney, to be seen publicly, to be giving something back after you have
he's not giving it back, is he?
Enormous fortune out of football because you're a very talented footballer.
No, you get this wrong.
It's not a bad thing.
Well, no, of course it's not a bad thing he's giving the money back. But the point is that he's getting people to pay to see him play in his testimonial, even though it's not the end of his career.
Yeah.
And it's other people's money that's being given to charity, not his.
Yeah. In the Manchester United case...
What do you mean,
Well, I'm about to compliment what you just said.
Yeah.
In the Manchester United situation, and I think certainly with Jose Mourinho coming, it'll be more true now than ever.
Yeah.
You have a full house every week. Now, it means a lot of people are excluded from watching Manchester United or going inside Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And there's a huge level of excitement, and there will be an even bigger level of excitement if Pogba arrives, as I expect he probably will.
Yeah.
And that means that people are locked out of the citadel of football in that northwest part of England.
Well, they're not locked out of it.
Well, they are.
Rubbish.
They are because they
in the cup.
No, there's so many season ticket holders. So I think what he's basically said
it's
is
their fault, is it?
It's not going to be charging full rate, by the way, for this.
Well, how much is he going to be charging
against Everton? I don't know, but
I'd like to know.
It won't be.
I'd like to know. I'd like to hear from some Manchester United fans, is what I'd like to hear.
And what do you want them to tell you?
I want them to tell me, one, how much tickets are to the testimonial, and two, whether they agree with me that he should not be doing a testimonial when he hasn't finished his career yet.
I think that's a terribly sad attitude.
No, it isn't.
To be knocking anything that's raising money for charity shows that actually the milk of human kindness has flown out of your cup.
Not true.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and of course there will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We've got heroes and villains as well.
Yep.
Amazing weekend of sport, actually.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Formula One, it was the PGA golf over in the States. By the way, I see that your Porky jinx worked in reverse. You got Rory McIlroy missing the cut, and Andrew Beef Johnson making the final day.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was good old Beef. You know, I like that. Somebody said over the weekend, "Shall we now rename me as Pork?" Not Porky or the Porkmeister, but just pork, yeah. And I thought, no, I don't want that.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't like it.
In the Grand Prix, by the way, I'm not going to bore you with the fact that I've said Lewis Hamilton will retain his title this season. I've been saying that for months,
well,
right?
No, I mean, what you do,
even when he was way behind.
No, what you do is you basically predict Lewis Hamilton to win every single race.
Well, he's had 1/6 of the last 7.
It doesn't really...
So that's a pretty accurate prediction, isn't it?
Well, it's not very difficult to predict, is it?
It is. He didn't even start on pole again, and he absolutely burned.
What position did he start?
He started second.
Second?
Yeah,
really?
that's right, yeah.
And then he won the race.
And
That's surprising.
Yeah, but there was no
He's
overtaking.
the best driver in the place with the best car.
He roared around past Nico Rosberg, so did the two Red Bulls. Now, the guy who made it, by the way, was old Daniel Ricciardo.
Ricciardo,
yeah. Because I thought that his gesture on the line of drinking champagne out of his shoe was brilliant.
Why?
I loved it. It is Ricciardo.
Ricciardo?
Daniel Ricciardo.
Ricciardo.
That's how you pronounce it. Ricciardo.
Yeah, it's not Ricciardo. You said Ricciardo.
I said Ricciardo. Ricciardo. Now then, he...
Did that Gilbert and Sullivan opera?
Did you see him drinking the champagne out of his shoe?
No.
It was brilliant. He took off his racing boot, and a racing boot looks a bit like a baseball shoe. You know, not a baseball, a basketball shoe.
Does it?
It's got a high collar right round the ankle. You know what I mean?
Has it got laces or Velcro?
It's got laces.
Has it?
And he took it off, and then he poured the champagne and he drank it from his shoe. And I said, what are you doing? He said, well, this is Carlos Shuey, because he's an Australian guy. I don't try to imitate his accent.
No.
And he said that a mate of his, who's another sporting legend, some Australian sport legend, who's a golfer or something, had won recently in some competition, and he'd seen him doing it, so he said, I'm doing it as well. It's an Aussie thing.
Well, I suppose it's better than drinking it out of the bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite difficult to drink champagne out of the bottle,
Well, it fizzes up on you.
Well, it sort of goes up your nose, doesn't it?
It goes everywhere. I saw a football chairman
once. Well, it doesn't go everywhere.
It does. I saw a football chairman once who was asked to take a swig from a bottle to celebrate qualifying for the Champions League.
Right.
And he's not used to drinking champagne, so he really knocked it right back with his mouth over the top of the bottle.
Yeah, and then it all exploded.
Oh, everywhere. it came out of his nose, his ears, all over his face and shirt and everything.
It's not good look.
It's not good look.
But the trouble is, you couldn't put it in your shoe, could you, for 2 reasons. One, your shoe wouldn't hold very much champagne because it's so small.
No, my shoe's a size 10. Well, we've done this before. We've done this before. I can take it off and show you the label. It says size 10.
Everyone who looks at the pictures of you in your shoes doesn't believe that.
Well, in that case, they've got bad eyesight.
Have they?
Yeah.
Okay.
My shoes are size 10.
Okay. And also, secondly, you wouldn't be able to pour it into one of your kind of horrible old trainers, would you? I mean, the inside of it's all kind of porous.
Well, hang on.
Because the champagne would all go out the edges.
No, I've got about 12 pairs of trainers.
What are you wearing today?
Trainers.
Oh.
So I don't wear one pair more than about once a week, okay?
Okay.
So mine are in perfect condition.
They look as if they're hardly worn, those.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Considering you walk so much, there's hardly any wear on the sole.
Well, I have a different pair of trainers for each day.
See, they don't look like size 10s to me.
Well, they are size 10s, I can promise you.
I might have to take a picture.
If I took them off, I'd show you. Talking about pictures, by the way, a lot of rather insulting comments about that car that you took a picture of outside. It's a Red Bull car with a big Red Bull. And it's nothing to do with me, but of course, as usual, you find some tiny little fact about my life, the fact that I once used to have a can of Red Bull in the mornings, which I have dispensed with like years ago.
Well, you used to have more than one can. You used to have about 5.
No, the maximum I've ever had before a show is 2. And that would be, for reasons like...
Like what?
Lack of...
lack of sleep?
No. Lack of...
Energy?
Nutrition stimulation before the show or something like that.
Right,
it's easy to drink a Red Bull.
Right.
Simple as that.
Tim says this on Twitter. He says there should be a 2 mics version of Pokemon Go with Porky being hunted.
Oh, that's
a great idea.
That's a bit harsh.
That is a brilliant idea. Do you know what somebody else suggested over the course of the weekend, actually,
no,
which I also like?
Is
that somebody here at Talk Sport should put together all of your watches, because we did Watch of the Day for 2 weeks.
Yes.
And just put them all on some kind of a slideshow type thing.
Why would you want to do that?
With Match of the Day as the theme tune.
Oh, I see. So Watch of the Day. Yeah, I see. Well, every watch has a different story.
That's what I mean.
Every watch tells a story.
Well, it's a good idea, isn't it?
So, well, if you want to, I wouldn't have any objections to it.
By the way, I have to say, there was a lot of action over the weekend as well about Fiat Puntos after our friend from the north called on Friday
with his
motor car.
Motor car.
I want a motor car.
It want a motor car.
And it was a Fiat Punto. People were like, I've just seen a Fiat Punto at the traffic lights, and burst out laughing.
No, you're joking. I didn't know they were still going.
And the people basically in the Fiat Punto didn't understand why everyone was laughing at them.
No, well, there are reasons for it. Now, we haven't really got into the grist of the honours system, really. Mr Cameron is going to be criticised.
Well, what I find interesting, right, is that he's been criticised for doing doing what pretty much everybody has always done.
Exactly.
Isn't it? I mean,
but to give your wife's dresser a gong and to have given your own barber a gong 4 years ago, and all this comes, of course,
but he didn't get any grief then, did he?
No, he didn't get any grief then, but then I suppose he was Prime Minister and he's not now. So those criticising him don't fear any repercussions.
Well, maybe.
But it came on the same weekend as the 5 members of the 66 England World Cup winning squad who were still able to get about, to put it kindly, were at the Royal Gardens Hotel.
Yes,
and
there was a big event over the weekend at Wembley, wasn't there?
Well, it was the 50th anniversary on Saturday.
I know that, but the event was at Wembley, wasn't
Exactly, yeah. And
how come you didn't go to that, by the way, as England's greatest fan?
I was busy. down on the coast, yeah.
Busy doing what?
Well, keeping an eye on the fact that all 6 of our T-45 destroyers are all parked just below my balcony in Gosport. Don't you think it would be a perfect opportunity for our enemies just to say, look, they're all there at once. Bang, let's get them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a nervous weekend. But anyway, the point is that I think Sir Geoff Hurst richly deserved his knighthood without a shadow of a doubt, okay?
Right.
Because he scored a hat-trick in a World Cup final. Nobody's ever done that before.
Okay.
I thought that the knighthood for Sir Alf Ramsey was richly deserved, and I do believe if Bobby Moore had survived and not had a premature death from cancer, sadly, he would have got a knighthood as well. That should have been it. These calls over the weekend, give every one of them a knighthood.
Yeah.
Rubbish, just water down the whole thing. And 50 years on, by the way, can't go around giving people things that they did 50 years ago. Knighthoods are used usually for political advantage. The reason that the Blair government gave Sir Geoff Hurst his knighthood in the first place, which was richly deserved, was because they thought it would be very popular. It's popular. It's populous to give Sir Alex Ferguson a knighthood on the night he won the Champions League.
That's right.
Because they're the biggest supported football club in this country.
That was very Blairish. Can I just hold that thought for a minute?
Indeed.
We've got one quick call to take. Chris is a Man United fan.
Great.
Just squeeze him in on the testimonial front. Chris, a very good morning to you. What do you like to say?
Morning, guys. Yeah, Ollie's, I'm a season ticket holder. I won't be going on Wednesday. I respect that he's giving it all to charity and that, but it seems too forced and too PR driven.
Yeah.
And
I see. Finally, somebody agrees with me.
Yeah, the last 2 testimonials I've been to, or the last few I've been to at Old Trafford, I've been to loads. It was Solskjaer's in 2007, obviously Ferguson manager, but it was just a pre-season game. Solskjaer come on for 10 minutes, and I'm sure Rooney might wear the Everton shirt for a bit. He's too forced with Rooney, all this. And I respect that. 12 years, he's getting the money and all that stuff, and he's doing a good thing for charity. But I just don't see anything more than keep getting us fit, especially with the debacle in China. I can't see any of the old players coming back like they used to do. And, you'd have like Cantona coming back, and as most teams do, the old legends come back. There'd be none of that. It's just going to be too rigid, I think, and it's too PR-driven for me.
Okay.
Called a testimonial.
Oh, you expect a sort of like a reserve Manchester United team, including Rooney, do you?
It'll be, well, if it goes by what it's been the last few years, obviously Mourinho's the manager, so I can't, pick the team. But the first half will be pretty much the first team, and then the second half, he plays the reserves. Squad players.
Okay.
It's
okay.
not really worth it. Chris, thanks very much indeed. Finally, the voice of reason comes on at the end of the hour.
An alternative point of view, of course, no problem at all.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the Two Mikes. We're in for Colin Murray. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be talking to the head of entomology at the John Innes Centre, would you believe, Dr. Ian Bedford, who's going to tell you what you can do about your snail problem up on the old Porky Towers.
And it is a problem. It is a problem.
Well, we'll hear all about it in a minute.
Indeed.
But we can't talk about it just
yet.
Also, of course, we're going to have another edition of Heroes and Villains. Lots and lots of sporting activity over the weekend for us to get our teeth into. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. Gordon has tweeted in. He says almost £500 million spent in the transfer window so far, which is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
He says, nice to see Everton haven't chipped in yet.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any point in rushing into transfer deals. Arsene Wenger's always said, I'm never going to buy players just because the public think I should be buying them.
He's not the greatest example,
He's not the greatest example, but the point
surely
is...
you wouldn't want Everton to become, a
non-buying team.
A non-buying team.
I agree, but Mr. Koeman knows what he's doing. And,
does he?
And in fact, we have bought a player, bought Ashley Williams from Swansea.
From Swansea?
For £10 million.
10 million?
Yeah.
So you've got 90 million left in the old war chest.
Yeah, and I think it's a great buy, by the way, because he's 31 years of age. I had a look at the stats and all that.
Did you?
Now, if he
had a good Euros as well.
Oh, exactly. He's got very high confidence. He's been part of a very successful and winning team recently. And if John Stones goes, he would be a perfect bridge in that defence for at least 1 or 2 years at that sort of age when you're near a maturity in defence.
All right.
So I'm pleased about
tuned
that.
in to hear Everton PR being pumped out
No,
of the
but you
station.
asked me about it.
By
You
the way-
tried to goad me and said they haven't spent any money. I've just told you they
I
have.
haven't spent 10
So,
million.
put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, that's nice of you,
Yeah.
because I've got a little something for you here. I've got a present.
what's that?
I've got a little present for you.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank
Isn't
you
that
very
nice?
much indeed. It's very nice
feel
indeed.
free to open it.
Well, I will indeed.
Or describe it even,
Well,
since
I will.
people are not able to see what you've got in your hand.
Well, it comes in a very nice packaging, which is a what do you call this? Like
It's a
holder.
bag.
A bag, yeah. Blue and white stripe.
Yep.
With nice handles.
Yes.
Quite expensive by the look
with,
of it.
with sort of silk handles.
It contains
Yeah.
a very nice big box of milk tray, Captain's
Yeah.
milk tray.
You
Thank
like
you very
those,
much
don't you?
indeed. I do. I love milk tray. I think it's great. That is
quite
very
a big
warmly
box,
appreciated.
yeah.
But you can't accuse me of carrying excess baggage
Right.
and buy me boxes of milk tray. However, I'm about to open the card.
There's
It's
a card,
addressed to Mr. Porky.
Mr. Porky.
So I assume it's not come from you, because you never addressed me as anything like as
Well, there was a bit of a
polite
debate.
away.
There was a bit of a debate as to what you should be referred to as.
And then this card, I've opened it. It's a lovely card. It says on the front, "Thanks a bunch," and it's got a bunch of bananas brought to life by having eyes and facial expressions. And as I open it here, it says, "Dear Mr. Porky, thank you for my Chelsea shirt. It was just what I wanted. Hope to see you soon, Love Oliver." And another one, "Dear Mr. Porky, it was very nice meeting you, and thank you for the English shirt. Love from Christopher." And Oliver and Christopher, of course, are your two sons.
They are.
They visited the TalkSport studios last week.
Hub.
The Hub,
Yeah.
that's right. I came to see their dad at work in the studio that we were in last week.
Yeah.
And I was delighted to be able to present them each with a football shirt.
Yeah.
And they went about.
And they were very happy about it.
Well, I'm glad they're happy. It was very nice to see them. Two charming young men. So
Yeah.
thank you very much, Christopher and Oliver, for that lovely present. I will enjoy my milk tray chockies with a cup of tea at home, probably watching Coronation Street.
Shame you were hurling insults at me seconds earlier.
Well, I mean, that's just a thing.
Yeah.
Now,
That
talking about
probably
insults.
would make most people feel quite bad about themselves.
Yeah, that's right. Talking about insults, by the way,
Yeah.
okay. Now, you constantly, deride and mock Gosport, where I have my...
Well, because it's one of the poorest parts of the world.
Well, it's not. And
Well, it
anyway,
is.
I just wanted to tell you, I was there over the weekend, and I learned that they've received an award for
What for?
a huge architectural and heritage-based restoral.
What?
We've got an award for a...
Yeah, no, you don't repeat it. I mean,
Yeah.
what does it mean?
Well, it's a
Really?
it's a monument that's been restored, and it's Victorian.
What sort of
Over
monument?
100 years old.
Well, it would be if it was Victorian. wouldn't
Yes.
it? She died in 1901.
Yes, that's right.
So
Yeah.
that was the Victorian era over and done with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've taken a picture of it. I'm going to put the picture out in a minute.
Well, what's it a memorial of?
A lamppost.
A lamppost.
Yes.
So Gosport's won a lamppost award.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. Got
Yeah.
one of the oldest lampposts in the country.
Really?
And it's been restored.
Marvellous.
And it's wonderful. I'm going to show it to you.
Thank you so much for
Um,
sharing that with us.
No, I've got a picture of it, and I'm going to send it out to all our followers, because you're always going on about the lack of heritage in the places I live. Well,
I'm
I
not
have to
talking
tell you,
about.
pal.
I'm not saying that,
Yeah.
but it's just that you
Yeah.
go bang on about the fact that you've got this sort of luxurious, sea view.
Yes.
And everybody now has seen what it looks like. It looks like a sort of a poor man's marina.
No.
But it's got about as much similarity to Monte Carlo
Yeah.
as the Thames, right?
Yeah,
And,
I'm
and
gonna,
it just looks like a horrible place that you live
I'm
in.
going to show you my lamppost here. Look.
Yeah, go on.
Look. See?
Lamppost.
Yes. See that?
Yeah, it's like an old. There's loads of those in London.
No.
You see them everywhere in London.
No.
Why is it, who's giving them the award? Tesco's.
No, you idiot. Here, look, it says here. It's called, that lamppost has
Yeah.
got its own name. What's it called?
Hang on. I can't read that.
The Gosport Shed.
The Gosport Shed.
Yeah.
This lamppost, erected in 1858, was restored
There
by
you go.
the Gosport
150
Shed.
years old.
No, it was restored by the Gosport Shed.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What's that?
Well, that's a local appreciation society.
Is
It
it?
goes around restoring
It's not like
lampposts.
a bunch of football hooligans. Or
No.
anything. The Gosport Shed.
No. You think that's
Well,
brilliant?
that's pointless.
Eh?
I don't know why you're telling me that.
Yeah.
I've got worse news for you, though, because
What?
as a slum landlord,
Yes.
you're about to be hit by a green tax, right?
Rubbish.
Which is going to be about 5,000 quid onto every home that you own.
Rubbish.
Because you're going to have to make them more energy efficient.
No, but
According
mine are
to,
energy efficient.
Well, no, you're going to have insulation, you're going to have cavity wall filling, and you're going to have new boilers, all from 2018.
Not at
This
all.
is coming from the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy.
No. Can I tell you, I know what they're talking about there, but just harken to my place, Gosport, for a minute or two. The rules now are so strict on energy conservation that when I go in there in the winter, sometimes when it could be -1 or -2 outside, the first thing I have to do when I get in is open the windows and the sliding, windows on the balcony, just to get the heat down.
Why?
Well, because it's so efficient and there's so much glass that even sunshine, without being heat, if you see what I mean, really heats the place up.
Right.
I never switch the heaters on. I never have to.
Why don't you draw the curtains?
Well, I don't want to, because there's a beautiful view out there.
Oh, no, but when you're not there, I mean.
No, you don't do that, because if you do that, your room will turn yellow. Because white goes yellow if it doesn't have sunlight.
Actually, you're wrong about that.
No, I'm not.
What you'll find is the sun actually will bleach everything, so that your pictures, if you have any, will be all bleached.
I keep them away from direct sunlight, but white
What
paint...
have you got pictures of in there?
I've got pictures of Lord Nelson, HMS Victory, the Concorde...
Yeah.
A rather beautiful landscape of a distant shore.
Have you got pictures of any people that you know?
John Lennon.
No, I don't mean people like you admire.
Winston Churchill.
No, family pictures.
Have I? Yes, I got one of my mum in the corridor.
Your mum?
Yeah.
Have you got any pictures of you and I?
What would I want a picture of you in my apartment
Well,
for?
because
Why would I want a picture of you?
Well, you spend every weekend goading me, talking about me, tweeting about me.
I've got a picture of me and David Cameron, which our listeners
we've
have
seen that,
Me and that pop star guy, Billy somebody.
Billy Idol.
Was it Billy Idol?
I don't know.
It might have been Billy Idol, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Billy J. Kramer?
No, not Billy J. Kramer, you fool.
Billy Piper?
No, not Billy Piper, no.
Billy Joel?
No, it wasn't Billy Joel either. It was the guy...
Billy, don't be a hero?
No, that was Black Lace. No, I've got a picture of me and my
Billy
mate...
the Kid?
My mate, the golfer.
Who?
Ian
Poulter.
Ian Poulter, that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
You completely ruined him, didn't you?
No.
Ever since you played golf with him, he's more or less had to retire.
Do you know what he was when I played golf with him?
Well, he's probably like number 5 in the world.
He's number 4. Yeah. He's number 4 in the world
and
that
now
weekend.
He's about number 400.
He doesn't even play anymore, does he?
He's going to be a non-playing vice-captain in the Ryder Cup.
That's right. I think you're right, yeah.
Absolutely shocking. Anyway, have you seen the time, by the way?
I've seen the time, yeah. Don't worry about that. Everything's good.
Everything is good.
Everything is
but
good,
it's going on far too long.
Yeah.
We've got loads more to do, including some talk about snails coming up next.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
Madness, they call it madness.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Alan has sent a very nice picture in of a plank and says Porky's on top form today.
Yeah, I'm on top form, but I'm on top form every day. That doesn't merit me being called a plank by you or anybody else, my friend.
And there are several people casting some doubt on your assertion that Ashley Williams is going to Everton, and it may not be a deal that's actually done yet.
Okay, well...
so I wouldn't be too sure about the 10 million quid that's been spent.
Let's just say that I believe the arrangement is pending, okay? We'll say that. We'll say that.
Now, we're going to talk to a very important man now, so I want you to be on your best behaviour. Dr. Ian Bedford, Head of Entomology at the John Innes Centre, because you've got a bit of a snail problem, so I'll let you explain it to him. Dr. Bedford, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll let Mr. Parry, my co-host here, explain to you what his problem is.
Indeed, Doc. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I've got a roof garden on my place down in Surrey, and this year, for the first time, I am absolutely overwhelmed with snails, and they're lovely little creatures. Unfortunately, if you go out in the middle of the night, you hear that terrible crunching sound. You know, you've got to be very careful. But my main point is this: I've got 4 watering cans, and the snails.
4 watering cans
to water all my plants. And the snails...
It's a tiny roof garden.
No, it's not. It's not, you see. And the snails have taken up occupancy in all the cans. Now, I don't like to put water in them now because that sticky stuff that snails leave behind them means they're kind of stuck to the cans. The other thing is, I see them crawling up,
You're not laughing, Dr. Bedford.
Hang on. Crawling up the sides of plant pots, 8 inches tall, carrying that huge shell on their back, which must weigh quite a bit for a snail.
Not that big.
And is that because they're trying desperately to get to the green foliage of the plants? Because that's what they seem to be after.
Yes, well, that's what they eat. So they're obviously hungry, and they're making the journey up to the leaves so they can have a meal.
So should I leave some of those leaves on the ground?
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Well, I'm just seeking advice. You don't have a snail problem. I do.
No, I don't. But are they climbing up the walls literally then?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty good at sort of smelling out where their food is.
Right.
You'll probably see on their head they've got 4 tentacles, and
Yes.
the 2 at the top are for seeing, although they can't see that well, and the 2 at the bottom can actually pick up scent from various things, including the chemicals given out by plants, and that's how they can sort of tell where their food is.
So should I go out with a pair of scissors and cut a few green bits off the plants and leave them on the patio for them so they don't have to do all the climbing?
Well, you could do, I suppose, or otherwise you could put some pots on the patio with some plants in which snails like to eat, such as hostas, and hopefully they'll stay down there. And but the thing is, the ones that are already up on the roof, they're probably going to stay up there because it's pretty a nice protected environment, so you'll have to perhaps go up there and collect them.
I wonder how they got there in the first place, because, I'm sort of 4 floors up.
They climbed up the walls.
What, the walls on the outside of the building?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they're quite capable of doing that.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, what about them taking up residence in my watering cans, Doc? Because I don't want to put water in them now, because what happened was, when I didn't realise last week, I filled a watering can up with water, and then the water wouldn't come out, and I thought, what's going on here? And the snail was acting like a ball cock in my watering can, if you see. And I drowned the poor little thing, but I didn't want to.
Yeah, I've had the same thing happen. But they do need to go into places which are damp, because they can sort of dry out quite easily.
In the sun, if they sit in the sun.
Yeah, so that's what's happened there. They found a nice sort of dark place to go and hide up. Because they come out at night. They're nocturnal feeders. So.
Oh, are they? Oh, I didn't realise that. I see them around all, quite a lot during the day. Is there is this summer a particularly bountiful summer for snails? Because I've never had a population of snails in my roof garden like this before. Never.
Yeah, it's probably because we've had a fairly mild winter, and in sort of severe winters, a lot of snails will die off. But the fact we've had this mild winter, a lot more have survived. They can live for many years, so obviously, the more that survive a winter, the bigger the population the following year, and that's probably what's happening.
How long do they live, snails?
Well, some of them can live up to 10 years.
Really?
So you'll have them there for a while then.
Wow.
Yeah.
10-year-long snails. Golly. Well, I don't know what to do about my watering cans because I don't want to drown them. And can you lift a snail out?
Why don't you get a couple of new ones?
Well, then I'd have 6 watering cans.
Well, I don't know why you've got 4.
That's too many.
Why don't you just have 1?
No, I'll tell you I've got 4, and the doctor will appreciate this. I put all my washing up water into the cans, so I need a lot to store them in. You see what I mean?
Yeah, but what, you mean just leave it there, stagnant?
No, it's not stagnant. It's got fairy liquid in it, and the fairy liquid protects the leaves of the plants. Is that right, Doc?
No.
Not really, no.
No, it is. It is.
We had this conversation. It's not good to put it on the leaves.
Well, I think
it's all right to pour it into the earth.
Anyway, the original question was, Doc, can I physically take the snails out of the cans without damaging them?
You should be able to, yeah. It's I'd suggest using sort of like a bamboo cane or something to poke down the spout, because they'll probably have worked their way up into the spout. And that's why you're finding that it's blocking the water from coming out. So,
so it's all right to poke them with a stick?
I don't think that's a very good idea.
Are you sure about this, Doctor?
I'm an animal lover.
No, I'm sure if you're gentle enough, you could dislodge them and poke them down into the main part, and then you can tip the can upside down.
Maybe you could use it like a snooker cue.
No, you idiot! I can't. What's the sticky stuff that snails leave behind them there, Doc?
That's the mucus that they produce for them to actually they use it to walk to slime across, so it makes a nice easy surface for them to go over sort of rough areas. And it helps them adhere to bricks as well, so they can go up up the walls.
Now this might sound like a daft question to an expert like yourself,
almost certainly.
But what is the shell doing on the back of a snail? What's its purpose?
Well, inside the shell is all the important bits of the snail's body. So you've got the lungs, the liver.
Really?
All that's in the stomach, the kidneys.
Yeah.
What do you mean, really?
No, that's incredible.
What do you think he's making it up?
No,
he's an entomologist.
No. I think he's making it up. What I'm amazed about is that more people don't know that, because when the French eat the snails, I thought everything got ground back into the shell.
Yeah, they pull the rest of the body back into there. So yeah, it's a. I mean, all the workings are in there, even the heart. So yeah.
Don't you, as an entomologist, think it's rather cruel and barbaric to do that to a little animal like a snail?
What, to eat it?
Well, to stuff everything back into its shell, mince it all up, boil it, and then eat it. I think that's horrible, don't you, Doc?
Well, no, the snail will sort of pull the rest of it, put its head and its foot back into the cavity in the shell when it goes into.
You didn't even know that snails had a foot.
No, I didn't actually.
No, of course you didn't.
Yeah. What do you
think it walks on?
Well, it walks on its mucus. The doctor's just told me that.
Mucus.
It
No, it
pulls
walks on its foot.
It pulls itself over
No,
the
it's its foot.
slime. That's what the slime's there for,
Yeah.
you idiot. And that's the way it operates. But I have to say, they don't have a lucky existence, do they, Doc? Because a lot of them do get trodden on. And why can't somebody like yourself invent a method to make snails move quicker so they have more protection against other animals and
like
predators?
a skateboard or something.
No, you fool. But, I mean, there must be a way of making them, they're traditionally very slow. Can't something be done to speed them up?
Well, I'm sure somebody somewhere could genetically modify them. Yeah, so.
They're actually not that
yeah.
slow. I mean, I used to watch them in my a garden in another house that I used to have.
Yeah.
And they would walk across the patio. And actually, if you stood there and watched them, they actually move quicker than you think.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you turn your head away for 5 minutes, they've gone. I agree,
that's what I mean.
but the actual progress on a second by second basis is very slow indeed. What are the main predators?
time, by the way.
Don't worry about time. What are the main predators, Doc? I've got to protect them from because I also have a bird bath and a bird table. You know, I'm the just to let you know, by the way, I am.
He's the Dr. Doolittle of Surrey.
Yeah, I'm a member of a duck conservancy down in Surrey. We look after a lot of ducks, so I don't want the snails to be.
He also recommended setting fire to bats.
I don't want the snails to be harmed, so how do I best look after them?
Well, yeah, thrushes and that they feed on snails, but you're probably best to leave a few sort of piles of stones or something for them to sort of go under and
okay.
Hide.
Yeah, and they'll hide up during the daytime, and then at night time they'll come out and they'll start eating your plants again.
I've got a few spare slates. I've got Italian slate on my floor in my roof garden, very expensive. And I thought if I left a couple of those... Yeah, no, from Italy.
Italy?
Italian slate from Italy. And I thought if I left those around, then they might hide under those and protect themselves from the sun, yeah?
Yeah, if you leave enough space underneath for them to...
Excellent.
To get in, yeah.
Prop them up.
I'm going to start like a snail, protective
snail
protection
refuge.
area. Yeah, snail refuge. That's the word I'm looking for. Doctor, I want to thank you very much for your time today. You've helped me enormously in my frustration at not being able to protect snails that come to my garden for succour and comfort. I shall look after them better in the future.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ian Bedford, head of entomology at the John Innes Centre.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought it? You learn an awful lot about snails listening to this show
on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The pressure's on now.
Relieve the itch. Talk Sport.
Hey! The sun goes down like a bad, bad dream. You undertake, gotta let off steam. They say they can break you again and again. If life is a radio, turn up to 10. It's a crazy.
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. We've got another edition of Heroes and Villains coming up. We've got a couple of tweets coming in on the snail front.
Yes.
Craig says this.
Yes.
He says, why did Porky miss the bit about trying to revive the snail in the watering can? Because you told us last week you tried to revive one.
Yeah, I did, but I'm afraid it didn't work.
Well, a lot of people were asking how you did that.
I just laid it out on a bit of leaf and all that kind of stuff, hoping it would dry itself out.
You didn't try the old sugary water thing?
No, I didn't actually, because I know that works with bees. And in fact, by the way, I'm getting a lot of communications from people who thank me for the advice on how to revive overladen bees who have worn themselves out going through the pollination process.
People writing to you from the asylum.
No. Don't be dismissive. People literally have said, Mike, it works. And one's even sent me a little video of the bee on the ground, outside their kitchen.
Video. The bee wasn't moving.
No, it did in the end. In the end, it flew off. Didn't you see it?
No, I got bored looking at it.
No, it flew off in the end.
Right, okay.
And so,
I'll tell you what I've got a problem with again this year.
What's
I had
that?
a problem last year with a wasp's nest in a shed.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's now, get this, right? And
Go on.
And we had hornets last year. This year, no hornets, but definitely wasps. They're all flying into a little hole in the eaves of the house.
Right.
And there's obviously a nest somewhere. And you can, and apparently, you can hear them going in. You can actually hear them sort of going in. And apparently there have been cases where they've made the nest so big that they've burst through the plaster.
Into the house?
Into the house.
Well, you better get this seen to very quickly.
Well, that's what's going to happen in the next couple of days.
Don't you just smoke them out?
Well, you can't just smoke them out, because if they've put a nest inside the loft, for example, you basically have to get a professional in who can remove the nest in a safe way. Because otherwise, if they start swarming or something, I mean, it's a nightmare, because they're quite small. Yeah. There's quite small wasps.
You attack your children or anything.
Well, they can attack me.
Yeah, them. Yeah, but I mean, they'd have to give you an awful lot of stings to put any poison that was dangerous into your system, because your body's so big.
I wouldn't
worry about it.
It's not so much that my body's big. It's quite toxic, though. I tend not to get bitten by anything.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know,
well,
I mean, a lot of people get bitten by mosquitoes. A lot of people get bitten by horse flies.
Yeah.
Nothing ever bites me.
Probably a good idea.
You're not interested in that at all,
I
mate.
am interested.
Yeah, no, I can tell.
No, I'm interested.
I can always tell when you...
Do you know what I would do if I were you?
Trails off into sort of, vague kind of...
Do you know what I would do if I were you?
Yeah,
I'd get a flamethrower, like a,
You suggested this to me before,
Yeah,
but I
I
can't.
have.
I'll set fire to the house. It's wooden. There's bits of wood all over the place.
if you do it properly,
You have no idea.
Well, I think
it's not some pokey little penthouse flat. It's a big house.
Yeah, not an expansive penthouse flat with a
balcony.
balcony.
It's not an expansive penthouse flat. Everybody can see where you live in Surrey, and everybody can see where you live in Gosport.
Anybody can see where anybody lives these days.
And the point is, it's not very impressive.
What are they called?
Those
pictures?
Google Maps.
Google Maps and all
in fact,
that.
somebody's already Google Mapped you in Gosport.
I know, that's right. Yeah,
so
quite
I've shot
impressive.
an aerial picture. It looks like a bomb site where you live.
No, it's not a bomb site.
It does.
It's right on the edge of a harbour. Now then, listen, because it was the 50th anniversary of the World Cup and all that over the weekend.
Yes.
I was very taken by a couple of pieces I read.
Did you watch the game, by the way? Because I know a lot of people wanted to watch the game, but I don't know if you could anywhere, could you? Did anybody show it?
I don't know.
Shouldn't they thought of doing that, the FA?
Well, I can't speak for them.
I mean, it's a weekend where there was no football.
Yes.
Why didn't they think about saying to one of the networks, why don't you put this on?
I really can't answer that question, mate, but, the football season's picking up soon. We'll see some people from the FA. We'll talk to them.
Don't you think that would have been a good idea, though?
Maybe.
I mean, we were only talking last week about how, not enough people think this is interesting.
Yes.
Why not show the game?
Well, maybe they could have done, but I mean, when you think about it, with the Formula One Grand Prix on and the, that Surrey bike race was on and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'd rather have watched the World Cup from 1966.
Well, okay. Anyway, I saw a particular piece by Lady Victoria Ramsay. Oh, yeah. She's 95 now, but still a very dignified lady.
Mrs. Ramsay?
Yeah, that's right. Sir Alf Ramsay's wife. And she's sadly, she says she thinks her husband died a broken man because of the way he was snubbed by the FA, after he left them in 1974 when we failed to qualify for the 74 World Cup. But I was quite surprised when I read it because, I worked at the FA and they revered Sir Alf Ramsay and thought great things of him. But the point is, when you leave an organisation like that and a new man has to take over, I'm afraid they have to push you right out of the way. Otherwise, your influence there is pervasive to the people who are coming in. And that's what they did. I mean, he didn't work in football again, it says here, but I think he did. I thought he worked for Birmingham City for a while as a sort of...
ambassador or something.
Well, like I said, director of football type role.
I mean, he was never a manager again, was he?
No, well, he didn't need to be, did he, after the England game? He got paid the equivalent of $122,000 a year. That's compared to like 3 million that Sam Allardyce gets.
What, you mean the equivalent?
The equivalent in modern day money.
Okay, which is not bad money, is it?
122,000. Well, I mean, a lot of footballers get double that a week, really.
Well, I know you don't think that's much. No, but, I mean, to most people, that's an awful lot of money.
That's in today's money, Mike. In those days, it was 12,000, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, in money in 1966. But anyway, the point is, she still lives in the house that they lived in Ipswich, because, of course, he was manager of Ipswich and won the Football League with them. The first season they got up into the First Division. That's why he became England manager. But she says that... he lived for football and he just felt lost after he lost his England job. There was nothing left for him, really. The FA treated him very shabbily. It was quite disgraceful. I do feel it contributed to the ill health he suffered afterwards. Did I not read somewhere over the weekend that she was also not invited to the sort of gala dinner? Well, none of them were.
After the World Cup.
That was the whole point. Funnily enough, I've spoken to Jeff Hurst about this.
Was this a male-only event or something?
Yeah. They went to the Royal Gardens Hotel.
Isn't that ridiculous?
In Kensington. Well, at different times, 1966.
Yeah,
and what happened was,
ridiculous,
the bus came back from Wembley and the players got off it, were shown into one room, and then the wives got off a second bus and they were shown into another room. And they all ate together while the players mixed with, FA officials and all that, and in fact, some fans who gate crashed the event. But, again... what happened was, eventually, the guys got together. Jeff Hurst was one of them.
Yeah.
I read this from Jeff Hurst's piece. And he said, eventually, we got out. And they went to a club in London, which was then run by Danny LaRue.
Oh, what, a nightclub?
A nightclub.
Yeah.
And
somewhere in Soho, probably.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. And they got into a back room there and they had a great time and all that kind of stuff. But no, the official dinner after the game, no wives.
So wags were not welcome?
Unbelievably not, no.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
And the first wag was Tina Moore, who was Bobby Moore's wife, the late great Bobby Moore.
I saw a piece about her the other day.
And to see the picture they took of her in the England shirt, which they made into as like a dress, like a mini dress.
Absolutely,
That was the style in 1966.
It was a Times magazine piece, wasn't it, I think?
I think it was. I think it was, I think you're right. And she looked very fetching indeed, and everybody called her like the first wag.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's sad that there's any bitter memories of it all. And also, it was a bit sad, really, to see the 5 who turned up at the Royal Gardens because that meant the other 5 who were still alive weren't there. And that was for health reasons.
Yeah,
so it just reminds us really how long ago it was. Sir Geoff Hurst, by the way, is in incredible shape. I think he's about 78 now or something. And he's in terrific shape and terrifically compos mentis, a great ambassador for that period and a great ambassador for football.
And for football in general.
Per se,
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
True enough. Now, we've got lots more to talk about,
Indeed.
including you were talking about buying a new TV, and I've got a mutual friend of ours who just bought a massive television.
Oh, excellent. Good. I need a new one.
I'm going to tell you what he got, and you may wish to copy him.
I've got a bit of a problem because I'm not sure.
You've got a problem with the time,
I've got a 2-door car now because it's a fastback Merc Sport, right?
Fastback Merc Sport. Is that what it is?
That's what it is, yeah.
With 1-inch tyres.
And I'm not sure
It's a nice motor car, isn't it?
I want to get a really big...
Want to get a Fiat Punto?
No. I want to get a really big telly. But I haven't worked out to get it into the car
you
yet.
suddenly become a scouser.
No.
I got a really big telly.
No, you idiot. So
I'm a fastback Merc.
I'm working on how to manipulate the 16 different position. No, the 16 different position passenger seat to try and get it.
Why?
As
You've
flat
never
as
got any
possible.
passengers.
No, I know, but I don't need a passenger. I need a space to get the telly in. It's so
just
huge.
get it delivered. You
Do you know the telly? Do you know the box?
Look at the time.
The box the telly goes in is about twice the size of the telly.
Yeah, well, wait till
it's
I
like
tell you.
carrying a wardrobe around. In fact, I might have to open both windows, front and back, and stick it out the window.
No, you just
and then
get
I get
it
stopped
delivered.
by a policeman for having an obtrusive package in my car.
Yeah, you're an idiot. This is Talk Sport.
Motor car.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. I can only say this is probably the best piece of advice I've ever seen for you, right?
Oh, yeah?
It's from Jack.
Yes.
Get it delivered, you Velcro-wearing plank.
Yeah, but you see, I'm not always there when they deliver. That's the problem. Because
Well,
you know,
just make
it's
sure you
not-
are.
It's I'm not there all the time. I mean, it's like you. You're not at home all the time when people deliver stuff. When you call me a snob all the time, and yet you get your food delivered from Ocado or one of those. Lot,
Yeah, I do. But they give me a 1 hour window.
Yeah, okay. Well,
So I have to
I'm
be
a
in
busy
for an
man.
hour.
I'm a busy man.
No, you're
I
not
have a
busy at
spare
all.
hour.
What
Okay.
are you busy doing?
Eh?
Doing what?
Doing things.
Doing things.
Getting things sorted out, man.
Things sorted out.
Yeah,
Anyway, here's what I was
yeah.
going to tell you, right? A mutual
Right.
friend of ours, who
Yes.
shall currently remain nameless because he might be accused of being an idiot,
Right.
has bought an 85-inch television.
85.
85-inch, right?
Crikey.
And it's what do they call it?
It's like a wall.
It's UHD, which
Yeah.
means ultra high definition.
Right.
It's 4K, which means it's got the latest sort of digital viewing
But
technology.
it costs more than 4K.
Do you know how much it cost? Have a guess.
12, 13,
8,000.
8,000
pounds.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
That's not bad.
You buy a car for that.
Yeah, but I mean that's for
In fact, I could buy 4 cars for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, the sort of wreck that you drive around in. But
My car's perfectly
that's-
good.
That's not bad at all.
If I scrape my wheel on a curb,
Yes.
which I don't do because I
Yes.
can park properly,
Yeah.
it costs me nothing.
Yeah, okay. No, I think that's. I thought you were going to tell me 25 grand or something like that. It's not curved; it's flat screen.
It's a flat screen.
They've gone back to flat screens
Well,
now,
why
haven't
just
they?
spending
The curve-
8,000
the
quid
curve-
on a TV?
Well, I think this is a bit excessive. I have to say. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you don't think it's excessive
No, I-
tells me
no, I
everything
do.
you need
No,
to
I
know
do.
about
I do.
you being the man of the people.
I do think it's excessive.
How much were
honestly,
you
I do.
planning to spend on your new TV?
Well, I thought I'd probably end up paying up to about 2,000 for it, I suppose.
2,000?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
See, if you had a partner
Yeah.
who made more money than you, then you'd be able to borrow money from her
Well-
and actually buy a TV with her money.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing that worries me.
What's that?
I'm not sure I could live in that sort of arrangement.
Well, you couldn't.
No, I couldn't.
Because
no.
you're too old-fashioned.
No,
I mean,
I
luckily
agree.
enough, we've got Dr. Pam Spur here,
Excellent, yeah.
who's going to help you through this problem of yours.
That's right,
Because,
yeah.
Dr. Pam, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you guys.
Thank you very much once again for joining us. Now, Porky, as you know, is slightly unreconstructed when it comes to the male-female relationship scenario, right?
Well,
he doesn't believe in even letting a woman buy him a drink.
Oh, no, it's not that. I'd just like to be polite. But Doctor, thank you ever so much for coming on, because this one really hit me between the eyes when I read of this chap's problem. He says this: I've been going out with this is a lady, actually, writing about her partner in life, okay? I've been going out with a wonderful man for a year now, and we've discussed having a future together. I work in finance, and I earn at least 4 times his salary. We are both in our mid-30s. He enjoys his job, but he's not concerned about climbing the career ladder. He's not as ambitious as I am, and he has an incredibly laid-back attitude to life. Could the fact that I earn a good deal more than him cause us any long-term problems?
Well, I think a lot of guys would be saying, get in, I want to be a kept man.
Well, I've spent my entire life, Dr. Pam, trying to find a woman to look after me, and you still haven't found one.
You see, I don't think there would be a problem in that scenario because, of course, she says he's laid back. Where the problem is when you guys define yourself completely by your work. So you are all about, I'm a career guy.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
Well, that's when you're likely to feel insecure with a partner who earns more. But if you see yourself as more than just your job, more than the two mics on radio, then it's okay.
But what about your male pride? What about,
What are you talking about?
I would feel completely emasculated, Doctor, if I was earning 1/4 of what my female partner in life is.
What's wrong with you?
Because she'd want to go to expensive restaurants, which she could afford on her salary.
She could buy you dinner.
Yeah, but I would know that, I can't match that. Next time we go out, I can't pay. Well, I'd feel undermined.
You have to look at what you can match that with. Maybe you've got the better sense of humour. You've got the chat.
I've got a great sense of humour. You're right.
He hasn't got much in that area of compensation, unfortunately. He's not very good looking. He's not very funny.
Could you let the doctor finish, please?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that, remember, we all give different things to relationships. So if you stop defining yourself by your earning power and more as just what you have to offer otherwise, then you find it's much more easy to accept the differences in pay packages.
Yeah, but it's still
going to cause a problem. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Pardon me, Dr. Pam. Have you ever allowed a woman to buy you dinner?
No.
Why not?
I just was brought up the way that, a man should be polite and pay for dinner and all that kind of stuff. No, I've never. Is there
anything wrong with that, Dr. Pam?
Well, not if the woman feels the same way, but you come unstuck when someone wants to pay their own way, or maybe, a good alternative is to take turns. You pay for the first date and she pays for the next.
Yeah. He can't remember the last date he had. Unfortunately.
Well, I cannot remember the last date I had where the lady paid because I always insist on paying, but that's a personal choice.
Yeah. Was that before testimonialisation?
I'm not going to answer such a stupid question. The thing is, Doc, how would I ever get over this? I would feel emasculated if I suddenly met a woman and I really fancied her and I thought, wow, you're beautiful and all that kind of stuff. And then she told me, oh, by the way, I earn about like 650 grand a year. I couldn't live with that.
There's not much chance of that, to be fair, is there?
No, but I couldn't live with that. I mean...
In that fantasy scenario where a 650k a year woman wants to take you out, darling, I think that you just have to say... What can I offer? I offer, my personality. You have to get back to that.
Yes.
Because otherwise, this has caused problems in relationships.
Yes.
Now,
do you think it's a control issue with the Porky? He likes to be in control.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of them feel if they're in control of the money, then they're in control of the relationship. Yeah. And that's not a healthy attitude.
Well,
let's face it, we don't want to control each other in relationships.
Yeah, no, he does, though.
No, for me, it's pride and emasculation. Now, I came very close to it once. When I was younger, I went out with a young lady whose father was, to this situation, was a very successful businessman. And when I met her in a social situation. I then told her to come round and pick me up on Sunday afternoon. We'd go out for a picnic or something.
So you don't mind being driven around?
Well, hang on, hear me out. She turned up in a brand new Lancia Beta Spider sports car.
Was it a fastback?
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah. And I only realised then that she was from a very in fact, the first time I realised she was from a wealthy family was when I went to her house and crashed into the back of her father's Rolls-Royce Corniche in my Vauxhall Viva. And then I realised...
That was the end of that.
Well, it wasn't actually. He was quite forgiving. My Viva fell to pieces. And I felt incredibly uncomfortable. We went off to the Hilton Hotel, to the bar there.
I haven't got time for all this.
No, I didn't realise how expensive the drinks were, Doc. So we racked up a bill of, several £100s or something. And then she offered to pay for it, but I couldn't allow it and put myself in debt.
Well, no one should ever put themselves in debt due to pride. Pride is a very dangerous thing. No, I think what you have to realise is that she saw something in you that wasn't about money. So again, I think you're over-defining yourself in terms of your earning power, and that's when. What
do you think that could have been, by the way?
Pardon?
What do you think that could have been? Whatever it was that she saw. Because whatever it was, he hasn't got it anymore.
Well, how can you possibly ask the doctor that? Doctor's never met me.
Well, she can look at a picture of you.
But aren't I right in thinking, Doc, that young ladies who are often criticised for having what, others might call, quotes, a sugar daddy, you know what I mean? Aren't they attracted to these men, not because they're rich, but because of the qualities they have within themselves to make themselves rich?
This is an interesting topic. You've got to remember that people, whether it's a man or a woman, to get to the top of their profession, finance, movie stars, whatever.
Yes.
They often have a great deal of charisma.
Yes.
So they may be, think of the comedians in this country, none of whom are what you call exceptionally good looking, but these men can literally laugh you into bed. They're so funny. The David Brent's, that's the character that...
he's a fictional character. I get worried about you, Dr. Pam.
People love that sense of humour. So you've got to remember, people who make it to the top often have sparkling charisma.
Yes.
And you can't, if only we could bottle that and we could all become rich.
So there's your answer, Porky. You just have to make it to the top.
No, I've got a bit of that. Don't worry. I've been very popular with the members of the opposite sex during my lifetime, Doctor. It's just that my colleague here in the studio, who has an alley cat type, it does an alley cat approach to life. Doesn't value relationships, just uses them. Can't see it. But I will accept your advice. I will try to reform my ways. I'm very grateful for your advice.
Just reframe the way you see yourself. It's not just about your pay packet. It's about your personality.
Yeah, but I still like to have a flash car and a Rolex watch on my wrist because
wouldn't we all?
Dr. Pam, I think you guys should
feel better.
Maybe you guys should go out for dinner together. That might work.
Well, I'm sure the doctor's got a lot better things to do. Yeah,
thank
but
you
you very much indeed.
That's Dr. Pam Spur. Interesting that. Interesting. So you're a control freak, basically.
No,
it comes
not.
Down to.
No.
How about this one from Adam, who's tweeted at the two mics? I think Porky could be a slug. He's just like a snail. He hates the sun, loves the shade, needs lots of fluids, and he dries out fast.
That's
it's quite accurate. That's
harsh.
This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
And it's in!
A diving header at the end of a 50-yard run.
From the root to the tip.
Talk Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the two mics, we're in for Colin Murray. Coming up in this hour, we're going to do heroes and villains, of course, which, as you know, Mr. Parry, is not voted upon by the general public. It is, in fact, decided by the El Supremo of the day, Catherine, who's going to be behind the glass there judging us. It's 4-3 to me at the moment.
And am I right in thinking that you bought Catherine lunch last week?
Yes, I did, actually.
Oh, I see. And she just happens to be the judge of this competition.
Well, you're surely not inferring that she's in any way corrupt, are you?
I'm not inferring that she's in any way corrupt. I'm inferring that you have corruption written all over your fat, miserable gob, okay?
Do you know what you've got written across yours?
Yeah.
Absolute and utter nothingness.
No. What I have is trust. Trust and believability and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, talking about trust and believability, we can talk about the Olympics coming up in this hour.
Indeed.
It's going to get underway in a few days' time, Saturday, I think, to be precise, over in Brazil. We'll find out how that's all going. There's been a few negative stories, you'd have to say. You're listening to the two mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. How about this one, who's Johnny sent this into the two mics. He says, OK, guys, how masculine would you feel being Bill Clinton right now, former president watching his wife run for office?
Yeah.
Well, I don't see why that would be a problem at all. I mean, Bill Clinton couldn't be happier because he'll be back in the White House.
Well, no.
He's already spent 8 years there.
I think he'll be anywhere but the White House. I think this is the actual point. I mean, look.
What do you mean, he'd be out on gallivanting about?
Yes, I do. Yeah, because, I mean,
his
wife...
I bet she would end up giving him some kind of sort of minister without portfolio type position, wouldn't she?
Well, the sort of job that Bill Clinton will take up will be as an ambassador, a worldwide ambassador for America, won't he? He's bound to be. He's a former president. That will give him plenty of opportunity to socialise in the way he likes socialising with people with whom he gets very friendly. And I would imagine that while Hillary's running the world and America, he will be very happy gallivanting around, you quite rightly say. I think it's a perfect arrangement of both of them. When he was president, the gallivanting around had to be done under the strict, beady eye.
Probably easier to do. When you've got a team of Secret Service men who are quite willing to cover for you.
Well, the Secret Servicemen have to watch you every second of every day when you're president. So if you do it, you have to have an arrangement with them that, I don't need any personal protection, please, for the next 30 minutes whilst I'm thinking about some, sort of recreational pursuit with
Speaking of what?
a member of the opposite
somebody
sex or
sent a picture in of Dr. Pam.
Oh.
Maybe you should take her out for dinner.
Well, Dr. Pam looks incredibly bewitching, and thank you very much indeed for talking to us on this show.
Yeah.
Whereas...
Is that a no, then?
Sorry?
Is that a no?
No, you're a very bewitching lady. Whereas...
Well, you've got nothing else going on tonight, have you?
Sorry?
Take her out for dinner.
No, she doesn't even live in this country, does she? She sounds American.
Well, she might be American.
Yeah.
Americans do live elsewhere outside of America.
Of course, of course, yeah. No, what I was going to say about old Bill, I went
Clinton.
I went down to Little Rock, right, before he was even elected. I was the first person to spot.
Yeah. No, you weren't.
I was the first
Absolute
person
rubbish.
to spot
No,
that Bill
absolute
Clinton
and utter
was going to be president of the United States.
I don't know who you think is going to believe that story.
So I go down to Little Rock, right? And I'm in the Capitol Hotel, which is the main hotel in Little Rock, which, is, despite what you think, Arkansas is the poorest state, but it's quite an active town.
Is it?
And everyone I spoke to there said, oh, yeah, Billy, yeah, we love him. He's very active around here. And what they meant was he was very active in pursuit of social networking.
Yeah, indeed.
Particularly with members of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
And, very busy.
Yeah.
But the point is that he was only in charge then of the National Guard. So he used to get the National Guard to provide cover for his hobbies. While Hillary was working at the Rose Law Firm as a senior partner, and he was the...
I'm sure she knew what was going on.
He was the governor of Oregon. Of course she did. Of course she knew what was going on.
I think they had a deal.
He had a 12-year affair with Ms. Flowers, didn't
Jennifer Flowers.
Jennifer Flowers,
I remember her, yeah.
And he had a great way of doing it. He used to say, he used to put on his jogging equipment, his jogging gear, and go out jogging every morning. But he wasn't jogging anywhere except round the corner. Then a guy from the National Guard would pick him up and take him to Jennifer Flowers' house, where he'd spend a communal sort of couple of hours and then kind of jog back, looking as though he'd had a bit of exercise.
Yes.
And he had exercise, but not the sort of exercise that Hillary thought he was having,
Hey, you see old David Moyes has had his first press conference.
Yes.
And, are you excited about the prospect of David Moyes being back in the Premier League? Or are you going to be slagging him off on the grounds that he's no longer the manager of Everton?
No, I'm not slagging anybody off. But, I mean, it is of scant interest to me to worry about the presence of any manager in the Premier League, except Ronald Koeman, who I think is going to be brilliant for Everton and is going to set new parameters of achievement.
And you're going to go to the opening game, aren't you?
I am. I'm going a week on Saturday. Going to Goodison. It's a 3:00 kickoff. It's against Spurs.
Yeah.
So
will you be settling into your new luxurious appointed seat in the chairman's box?
Well, it's not in the chairman's box. It's behind the director's box.
Is it?
But I mean, it's.
Do they know about that?
Yeah, well, I don't know whether they know about it or not. I'm just a paying punter like anybody else.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, they might want to cast their eyes over the seating plan a bit close to the director's box.
Well, I'm
you
sure
know how things could go.
Are you suggesting that I might get imbibed and start shouting, things like,
you might just start singing or something.
No,
You've never been unpleasant.
No. I know exactly how to conduct myself. Don't you worry about that.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Wardy says this: Dr. Pam cut a hasty retreat when she suggested she date Porky, Mike. She's clearly a very intelligent lady.
What a load of nonsense, honestly. You lot don't half go on about it. Now then, what I need to tell you? What I need to tell you is, I read over the weekend, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, that the HS2 project, now that the new Prime Minister, Ms. Theresa May, has her eye on it, may be up for review.
Yeah, well, it should be.
It's a £90 billion.
But haven't they already started spending a load of money on it?
£185 million on consultants so far.
They haven't bought anybody's property yet.
I mean, how many consultants have they employed?
Well, it doesn't matter.
£185 million. If they've only employed 100 consultants, then each consultant by now has got 1.8 million.
Oh, that's probably about right.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah, but consultants charge ludicrous amounts of money.
They do. They charge like £10,000 a day or something like that.
Having worked at the FA, right?
Yes.
Having worked at the PA, the Press Association, having worked at the Daily Express, other organisations in the media, that you haven't punted yourself out as some kind of consultant.
Well, I mean, if I had a non-life and a non-job, I probably could. But as it is,
you're saying you haven't got time.
I haven't got time. Now, what I was going to say is that I also read in a similar publication that it would cost £12 billion to repair every pothole in this country on our roads.
£12 billion?
Yeah. Now, the presence of potholes on our roads now has become an accepted fact of life. Do you know that? An accepted fact of life.
Well, actually, funnily you say that, because in my recent experience of the roads just between here and Sussex, they've actually started repaving quite a lot of them.
Well, mine haven't.
Spending the money on it.
Mine down in Surrey get worse, and I think to myself, well, hang on. At the moment we have a Tory government, their shy constituencies are their biggest supporters. Why don't they repair the roads in Surrey? And do you know why? They've run out of money. During all the Labour years, when Labour looked after their traditional supporters who are more in sort of inner city areas.
Right.
A lot of rebuilding work was done there, and the shires were ignored, and there's now no money around. Now the point is, can't somebody work out that to spend £90 billion on improving the time of a train from London to Birmingham by 20 minutes is of minimal value to this country? To repair the potholes, and incidentally, most county councils now have to put a sizable percentage of their budget aside to pay repairs to cars that drive in and out of potholes and smash the wheels up. Yeah. Don't you think it'd be better to repair the potholes in the roads?
I do.
Rather than build a new railway nobody wants.
Also, somebody pointed out the other day, they're now working on some kind of train in Japan which travels at 600 kilometres an hour.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of puts the HS2 into
it certainly does.
a cocked hat, doesn't it?
And is that the magnetic one?
I think it might be,
the magnetic train. Yeah, well, we should get one of those round here. But, I mean, the whole idea of HS2 seemed to me to be a vanity project promulgated by David Cameron.
Yeah.
Well, David Cameron's not there anymore.
He's not.
So why don't we just say, look, nice idea, sorry, bang, just get rid. Well, nobody wants it.
Yeah, but I think they have to pretend that they're considering doing it for a while before they do it.
I think you're right.
Do you know what I mean? Sort of smoke and mirrors.
It'd be a bit of a humiliation to David Cameron if Theresa May suddenly got up to her and said, oh, HS2, I never supported that, even as Home Secretary. We're shelving that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because if they don't start thinking about it soon, people are going to have tunnels dug under their houses, which won't have anything in them if they cancel it when they comes to laying down the railway lines.
Exactly right.
Which is not good.
It's not good.
No.
No, but thank you for
I thought I'd let you know
making
that.
us aware of that.
Yeah, but we should repair the potholes because otherwise cars are getting wrecked.
Just stop talking
for
my
5
car.
minutes. I don't want my car wrecked.
Your car's already wrecked.
Well,
you can't drive it. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Lying down on the couch. What does that mean? You're a nut. You're crazy.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and of course, it is the summer. There's been loads going on: Formula One, golf, tennis, of course, and everything else going around. The transfer market is buoying up and being quite busy at the moment. David Moyes just had his first press conference at Sunderland. However, the Olympics, of course, are just a few days away.
Literally just a few days away.
And you know, in a funny sort of way, it doesn't. I don't know if you remember 4 years ago when 2012 was upon us. London 2012. I mean, it was amazing, wasn't it? London became this incredible centre of excellence for the world.
Indeed.
The opening ceremony made everybody feel good about themselves.
But it was on our doorstep,
and about
of course.
The country. Yeah, but now, of course, because it's in Brazil, you get the sense that it's nothing really like that, and that may be doing the Brazilians a disservice. Let's talk to Rob Harris, who is PA's global sports correspondent, and find out what he's preparing for himself and what we should be preparing for come the end of the week. Rob, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, just to correct it, it's AP.
Sorry?
AP, Associated Press.
Oh, it's AP. Sorry, I was told it was PA. Well, that
indeed.
makes a big difference then, obviously.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've been reading a lot of negative stories about the way the water over there is going to be in a terrible shape for the sailing and for the marathon swimming. We've heard about the Australians not wanting to move into their quarters because they're not ready. You know, that the Brazilian population's a little bit underwhelmed. I mean, couldn't be more different from 2012, really, could it?
Yeah, there is that intense negativity surrounding these games. I mean, there's always a bit of concerns about preparations about any major event, even in Europe. But I think it's the fact you've got so many factors in play in Rio that's just adding to it, from the water pollution to Zika to the preparation of both the venues and the accommodation, and even ticket sales, with only 80% of tickets sold.
Yeah, Rob, we always get these stories. I remember before Greece, when Greece was sort of on the verge of going bankrupt, not quite as bankrupt as it is now, that, you know, nothing will be ready. And yet when everybody arrives, usually things are ready. So don't the International Olympic Committee just have to have an emergency plan in the last few days, like we are now, before the competition opens, to make sure everything is there?
I think what it will be, the front of house stuff will actually be all okay for the athletes. They will get on the track, they will get in the venues, and it will look fine. It might just be a few teething issues around the venues. I remember being in Manaus the day before England's first game at the World Cup 2 years ago, and the builders were there sort of fiddling with various piping and getting things like toilets finished. So it will be the things you won't be able to see on television and that won't affect the athletes. That will probably be down to the wire, but I think generally it should be okay. It's probably those health issues that are slightly more unpredictable, which the organisers can't control.
Sure. Now, obviously it's run by the IOC, International Olympics Committee. Now, you will be very well aware of the shenanigans which have been revealed inside FIFA over the last 2 or 3 years. The IOC have had their problems in the past. Where does it stand with them now?
Well, the IOC has been preaching FIFA for the last year or so about good governance, about how they should be doing things. Yet now the spotlight's been turned on the IOC themselves. They are finding the pressure a bit. And yesterday, Thomas Bach, the IOC president, was coming under a lot of questioning in Rio about just why there was no blanket ban on the Russian athletes.
Exactly.
And he was saying, effectively, it wasn't the IOC's problem. He said he's not responsible for it. It's something to do with the World Anti-Doping Agency and their own timings of their investigations. What that does overlook is the fact the IOC 3 years ago was warned of Russian doping problems from media reports at the time. Although that was slightly before Thomas Bach was elected, the IOC had an awareness and seemed to overlook the problems, which now means just a few days before the start of their biggest event, we're still in uncertainty over which Russians will be allowed in. Will the ones that the Russians want in be still banned?
Yeah.
And what about Team GB and their expectations? Because after 2012 and Beijing as well, I mean, they've set themselves a pretty high bar in terms of the medals that they're expecting to get. Is that, do you think, achievable?
Well, certainly the investment's been there and it's been sustained, and the preparation camp is phenomenal that they've got in Belo Horizonte with a track that's similar to the one they'll be running on in Rio. So certainly the investment's there, but the expectations there. There will be less of a spotlight on them. So we talk about England players at the Euros. How do they cope with the pressure? Well, the pressure should be slightly off them this time because they're not on home soil, but we saw how phenomenally they did actually perform when it was at home. So, much will be expected of them, and indeed they have had the investment from the lottery and other sources to hopefully allow them to deliver.
Rob, Chris Froome is a bit of an amazing guy, isn't he? Even in terms of what athletes achieve. I mean, this man's, riding up and down the Pyrenees one minute, he's riding around Surrey near where I live yesterday another, and he's heading off now for Olympic gold. Have you ever known a phenomenon like this man?
Oh, it's absolutely astonishing, isn't he? What he's managed to achieve, him and Bradley Wiggins a few years ago.
Yeah.
The athletic feat is something to admire, particularly as they're in a sport that has been dragged through the mud over recent years as well, and they're really having to help to sort of be role models for the sport and to try to sort of bring the sport into a new era.
Well, completely restoring the reputation of a sport that was smashed to pieces with corruption.
Yeah, and I remember thinking how astonishing it was a few years ago when the talk was about a British Tour de France winner, a British team actually conquering the Tour de France. Yeah. We thought, that's some fanciful thing down the line. And now I think before we take it for granted just how dominant we are in cycling, and much will be expected of them in the velodrome in Rio.
Indeed.
Yeah, no, I mean, and as far as the kind of televised events and things like that, I mean, in terms of time difference and stuff like that, how's that going to work for people watching it back here?
Well, it's going to be very late night for them watching, or a good chance to sort of settle down for sleep by catching that late night action from Rio. A lot of it is dictated towards the US TV audiences who pay billions for the rights. So a lot of those finals in swimming in the opening week or so will be quite late our time, although it's a breakfast catch-up for many with some of that action.
Because, of course, there were some big rows last year, well, not last year, but 4 years ago with NBC, weren't there? Because they were putting an awful lot of their Olympic coverage online, even though they'd kind of basically bought everybody else out so that nobody else could put it on there, and they were only showing sort of highlights.
Yeah, and indeed, the opening ceremony, if I'm right thinking, they don't actually get live out there in the States as well. Yeah. So they do live in a slightly different media world where perhaps not fully aware of the fact people following it online, although they got big ratings even for their tape-delayed stuff, I think, from the Sochi Winter Games 2 years ago. Yeah. So they obviously believe their model holds up. But, they do fund the Olympic movement to the tune of billions, which helps to fund often the lavish lifestyles of some of these IOC executives as well.
Right. Yeah. And what's interesting, really, since 2012 as well, because so many people got into the Olympics and went to the live events, even to the dressage stuff, and the water polo and all the kinds of stuff that you might have thought wouldn't be interesting. That whole kind of enthusiasm for the Olympics seems to have disappeared, partly because of the doping scandals and partly because of the fact that it's so far away. I mean, do you think think that will come back once the competitions get underway?
I think because it's in a good time zone in terms of television audiences catching it late at night. Remember all of that, the action from London actually happened during the day when people are obviously at work, and it still had that momentum building. I think what will be slightly different out in Rio is obviously that slight distance in terms of that lack of connection. There won't be the home fans. Fans obviously don't travel in big numbers to the Olympics. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the Russians that do compete are booed by the locals, just how much of that anger has transferred from Europe, where we obviously hear and feel a lot of concern about Russian doping, and just how much that is extended to down in South America, where they are hosting the Olympics for the first time.
Sure. Well, Rob, listen, thanks very much.
Rob,
for
thank you very much indeed.
I'm sure we'll be talking to you during the course of the next few weeks as well. Rob Harris there, AP's global sports correspondent, talking about the Olympics, which gets underway in just a few days' time, of course.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
Time for heroes and villains, Porky. I hope you're prepared for this.
Because,
of course I am. Your record is now 4-0, basically, down to you. We had winners and losers. Yeah. You didn't win one competition, so I've won all 4 of them, and you've won none of them.
I'm not sure about this, you know. I don't take this as seriously as you do, and you make up all these...
You don't take it seriously?
Well, I don't take it as seriously as you, because I realise that it's something to entertain our millions of listeners.
Oh, is that right?
But you know, are always scratching up a chalk mark on the board. Oh, I've got 4, you've only got 3, you know. For me, it's taking part.
All right.
You know?
Well, I'm glad you feel like that.
Yeah, I do.
I won't care if you win. Anyway, would you like to go first with your heroes?
I shall go...
Or do you want to just do one hero, and I'll do one hero, and do it that way?
I'll go first with... which way do you normally do it?
Well, we can do heroes. It's called heroes and villains.
Right, okay.
So technically, you would do heroes first.
I'll go first with a hero, okay?
Go on, then.
Right, one of my heroes I'm going first with is Luke Aitken. He's the parachutist who jumped out of the aeroplane 25,000 feet up without a parachute.
Yes.
Somehow managed to spot what must have been a dot on Earth below, which was in fact a net, which was 3 times the size of a tennis court, supported by 4 cranes, the sort of cranes that you normally see on massive building sites.
Yes.
And somehow the net didn't burst when he landed in it without a parachute.
Well, they'd obviously tested it, hadn't they?
Well, how can you test that? You can't test that. You can only do it once, and if it goes wrong, you're dead.
Yeah, but you can fire something into it.
Well, I suppose you can, but nevertheless, for any human being to do that is just the height of sheer bravery. Some people would call it foolhardy. I would call it the most exciting thing that I've ever come across.
Really?
And the man is a massive hero because it's all about the indomitable human spirit of adventure.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that you didn't sort of say, what a waste of time. Why did he find a cure for cancer?
No,
I
thought it was brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it then?
That's my first hero.
That's your first hero. My first hero is Andrew Johnson.
Andrew Johnson.
Beef. Because, of course,
it's
this
a
is
bit
a guy...
hackneyed, isn't it?
No, this is a guy who you have mercilessly...
Man's a bit of a freak.
Derided. Well, first of all, he's not. First of all, he is a bit of a hero because he went over to the US PGA, where he was invited after doing so well at the Open here, of course, at the Royal Troon.
Yes.
You said that he was wasting his time, getting too busy with his kind of superstar, branding.
And I'm not the only one.
And all the rest of it.
Plenty of golfing pundits over the weekend think that.
I see. So you were kind of just aping them, really, weren't you?
Well, I said it before they did.
Yeah, and instead, your hero, Rory McIlroy, misses the cut.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But Andrew Johnson didn't miss the cut, and he ended up with a very respectable 1 over par after 4 rounds at Bolter's Roll, which I think was very good. So
I thought it was very commendable.
I think his career moves from strength to strength, and so good luck to him.
I think he'll be a busted flush in a year.
Well, you'd be wrong about
frankly.
that.
But anyway, go on.
All right.
Yeah, right. So
your next hero, then?
My next hero has got to be, without a shadow of a doubt, the 5 members of the World Cup 66 team who turned up for a ceremony on Saturday at the Royal Gardens Hotel. They're the 5 ones who are fit and healthy and able to get about. Please remember that the other 5 who are still alive weren't able to get there. And we've also lost Bobby Moore, Alan Ball and Sir Alf Ramsey, sadly, in the years between then and now. So those guys who are there to remind us of probably the greatest day in English sport are heroes without a shadow of a doubt. And I have immense respect for them, and they make me very proud to be English.
Yeah, okay. All right, then. What about Carl Frampton? He's going to be my second hero. He, of course, became the 2-weight world champion over in New York at the weekend.
Yes.
He won the WBA featherweight title over Leo Santa Cruz, and he's now basically got these 2 titles at 2 different weights, which I think is pretty extraordinary.
Yes.
You know, he's not the first boxer to do
that's
it,
extraordinary,
but he is a British boxer,
Yes.
Northern Irish, of course, but done brilliantly. He made a bit of history.
Indeed.
Even he says he thinks he's created a bit of a legacy.
Indeed, yeah.
So those are my 2.
Yeah, well, I can't knock that one.
Now we need to hear your 2 villain. Well, one, your first villain.
Right, my first villain is, without a shadow of a doubt, whoever's running the Royal Navy at the moment. Because
Whoever's running the Royal Navy.
I'm the first Sea Lord, in fact.
Wouldn't it be the first Sea Lord?
Yes, that's right. And there I was.
Who is that?
Well, the first Sea Lord.
You don't know? I thought your naval intelligence contacts would have assured you of his identity.
I don't want to get into that. I'm saying the Royal Navy, okay? My villain's the Royal Navy, because they're
you're
an
not frightened to
institution.
be too critical of it.
No. And what I was going to say is to look out from my penthouse balcony in Gosport on Saturday, see all 6 of our T-45s, which are our most potent and powerful warships.
Yeah.
We should have had 12 of them, by the way. And the last government that resupplied ships to the Royal Navy cut them from 12 to 6.
Yeah.
But they are magnificent vessels. They're probably the most advanced in the world. They're very, very efficient. But why all 6 of them were in Portsmouth Harbour on Saturday when they have, peacekeeping duties around the world and presence, I have no idea. So I'm sorry, but the Royal Navy, as far as I'm concerned, they said it was unprecedented for them all to be there. Can somebody find out what went wrong? You can't blame one particular man because they all received instructions for different reasons, i.e. staff recuperation, come in for repair, let's have a look at your engines, or end of a tour of duty.
Yeah.
Get your act together.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
My first villain of the weekend is, I don't know whether you might have noticed this, but I think it was on Saturday night or Friday night, the BBC Proms had a performance in the Albert Hall of some David Bowie songs, right?
Oh, okay.
But instead of being performed by anyone that you'd heard of, they were basically being performed by some German progressive community group.
Really?
And
for what reason?
Well, nobody really knows.
No.
But it was horrendous. It was one of the most awful
Sounds
things
dreadful.
I've ever seen on television, right?
Yeah.
And it was all, rearranged by somebody you've never heard
Did
of.
they sound German?
Well, they weren't particularly German, but they had the glockenspiel and they had sort of
glockenspiel?
people on flutes and,
They weren't wearing the lederhosen, were they?
No, do you know what a glockenspiel is?
Yeah, glockenspiel's like a big instrument.
Yeah, but what kind of instrument?
It's like a drum.
No, it isn't.
Type thing. No, it's like I know. I know what it is. It's a euphonium.
Yeah, you hit it with.
That's right.
It's a sort of keyboard type,
yes, that's right.
percussion instrument, but it's like a
that's
keyboard.
Right. That's what I meant.
And you hit it with hammers.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
That's
yeah.
a glockenspiel.
Yeah, no,
a bit like a xylophone.
Xylophone.
That
That's
kind
the
of
one.
idea.
That's the one. Doing,
but it was like here's
makes sort of zingy noises.
And then they had
Zing,
Mark
zing,
Armand
zing,
from
zing,
Soft
zing.
Cell, who looks like he's been literally taken out of a crypt to sing Life on Mars, which was cringeworthy, right? It was all
He
just
did a cover
dreadful.
version of somebody's famous song years ago, got to number 1.
Yeah, I think he did, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole thing was absolutely horrendous, and although some people would say that David Bowie was, very experimental, would love it, all that sort of thing,
Yes.
and these die-hard Bowie fans were all going, "Oh, this was fantastic, man,"
Indeed,
but actually it was rubbish, absolute rubbish.
Okay, so you want my second villain?
I do.
My second villain, I'm afraid, is David Cameron.
Is it?
Because to issue this honours list full of deadbeats, bums, half-bakes...
And not you.
No, not me, no. And, and people like Isabel Spearman, who happened to be the stylist advisor to his wife, Sam,
yes.
who's comes from a very wealthy family anyway. I mean, the honours system per se, I'm not against, because I think people should be rewarded for doing great things, but not for cutting the Prime Minister's hair.
No.
And as you quite rightly pointed out, some of these awards are given to people just for doing their job without actually screwing up too badly, although they all screw up in government all the time. And I think it's a bit of a disgrace and needs reforming. So David Cameron.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to say my final villain is actually the organisers of the Brazilian Olympics.
Right.
Quite why, I'm going to be specific, and it's because the advice which has been given now to the swimmers who are in the marathon swimming and the sailing competitions and all the various water sports that they're going to get involved in is to keep their mouths closed while they're in the water.
Yeah, right.
Just in case they imbibe anything which is in fact going to kill them or indeed make them very
Yeah,
ill.
pretty good advice, that.
Yeah, it is.
Poison floating around here.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about a marathon swimming.
Yeah, I know.
How can you keep your mouth shut?
I don't know.
I mean, they're supposed to be swimming for miles and miles and miles and miles.
Don't some of them wear like a snorkel type thing?
No, that's bog snorkeling you're thinking of.
No, I'm not.
They don't have that in the Olympics yet.
No, I think they do.
They do not wear snorkels.
I think they
don't talk rubbish.
No, I think they do.
No, they don't. They swim.
Really?
You can't swim fast with a snorkel on.
You can.
You ever tried?
No.
You ever worn a snorkel?
Yes.
When?
I told you, didn't I?
When?
In Australia. when I was...
I can't imagine you snorkeling.
Hunting sort of whales or something.
Whales?
Yeah, or something like that.
I can't imagine... I think you need more than a snorkel to hunt whales.
Yeah, well, you go... It's very clear blue sea off the coast of Perth.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I'll tell you where it was. It was where the Fremantle Doctor comes from. Fremantle.
Fremantle?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And,
who's the Fremantle Doctor?
It's a wind that blows down the...
Are you sure?
It's a wind that blows down the west coast of Australia.
Uh-huh.
And it's where they do all the training for the America's Cup and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Mm.
So I think that's it then, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
So all we need now...
It's now just up to Catherine, our producer, to
very
make
fair-minded
her
Catherine.
decision, and, she won't dwell too much on the very expensive lunch you bought her last week. What was the purpose of the lunch, by the way?
Oh, just you hadn't seen each other for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so 3 days ahead of us doing Heroes and Villains, just so happened that you decided to extend the invitation.
Well, see, unlike you, people like to have lunch with me. Nobody asks you for lunch because you're such an objectionable character. Nobody wants to spend any time with you.
Yeah, but as I get it, you asked her for lunch. It wasn't the other way around, was it?
It was a mutual request.
No, it wasn't a mutual request. No. Nefarious. Yeah. And I think Catherine is such a fair-minded lady that she realises if she
I think she'll be upset that you've cast aspersions on her character.
I think she will realise if she gives the award to you, then of course she's opening herself up to the sort of this is
the kind of mind-boggling
corruption-like processes.
This is the kind of mind-boggling manipulation
that
you
can
get involved
often happen. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you're putting unnecessary pressure on her.
No, I'm not putting any pressure on her. I just don't want her to be branded a cheat by anybody. That's all. Well,
she might just give it to you to make out that she likes you.
Well, she won't have to do that. I mean, I can tell what somebody likes from me by the look on their face, so I don't worry about that.
That must not happen very often.
What?
That doesn't happen very often, does it? That was Heroes and Villains. More coming up next.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will, of course, be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. And, of course, at this time, it is appropriate to tell us who you've chosen for the £100 Wix gift card, which goes to our best caller every single day right here. Who have you chosen?
That's right. The best caller today was Matt, the Manchester United fan, who very eloquently explained that, the season ticket situation at Manchester United is preventative to some people getting to a game, so he was in support of the Wayne Rooney testimonial coming up on Wednesday against Everton. And thanks, Matt, for calling the show and giving us such a reasoned view on what that's all about.
Okay. Now, for some reason, because we haven't asked for these, somebody has written in basing their comments on your picks for Heroes and Villains.
Oh, yes.
Stephen says, has to be Porky in Heroes and Villains. Brilliant picks, very patriotic. I find myself in tears. Well done, Porky.
Thank you. I mean, that's
I do
very
sometimes wonder about the the sort of emotional stability of some of our listeners.
But you see that
how can you be in tears just because of some rubbish that you've spouted?
No.
It's because you mentioned England '66,
and I mentioned an adventurer who jumped out of a plane without a parachute. Which is a fine thing
to
do.
Who normally you would criticise for wasting everybody's time.
No, he didn't waste anybody's time. He didn't kill himself. Well, there isn't going to be a funeral. Nobody had to scrape his body up off the ground or anything like that.
Okay.
So, from that point of view, he was an adventurer who got it right.
Well, I can tell you that Catherine's verdict is also in.
Yes.
Would you like to hear that?
Yes, please.
Yeah?
Yes.
You got any comments to make beforehand?
No. I'm happy to take the judgment of the appointed adjudicator.
The appointed adjudicator?
Yes.
Not a very nice way of referring to it.
Yes.
She says this.
Yes.
I really like Parry's heroes as they weren't the obvious.
Thank you.
Weren't the obvious. We picked the 1966 World Cup.
Yeah, but it was 50 years on.
Yeah,
so,
but it was pretty obvious.
No, it wasn't. It was something that people were...
She says, he had it in the bag until MG's Rio 2016 villain.
What? Which villain?
Well, the villain of the piece, the people who have allowed the ponds to become...
That was so generic that there was nothing in it.
Well, it's the
organisers. The whole nation.
The organisers of the Olympics.
It's a whole nation you were picking.
Yeah. Well, they're all villains, aren't they?
So who's the winner?
Well, don't worry about that. I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
Which almost swayed it back in his favour.
Yes.
Ultimately, though, she says, today's point goes to...
Yes. Me.
Me?
No.
Who?
The Porkmeister. Yeah?
Yeah, it goes to you.
It goes to me! Hooray!
Yeah.
Woo, 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 woo! There you go, you see.
This is the same guy who said earlier you don't care about these things.
Yeah,
right?
you see, that'll
don't
teach you.
care.
That'll teach you to go out and try and bribing people with free lunches. Have you ever heard the expression, pal? No such thing as a free lunch.
This is what happens.
Your lunch has now just cost you.
See, this is why.
Cost you money and it's cost you reputation.
Doesn't cost me anything at all.
Slug.
I haven't cost me anything at all. See, this is why people dislike you. Because you're a
People don't
braggart.
dislike me.
People do dislike you.
no, they
Trust
don't.
me.
No.
I can give you a straw poll of the people just behind the glass if you like.
No.
You know.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
What do you want to talk to me about?
The remaining minutes of the show.
It makes it 4-4, by the way.
Yes, well, you know, that's irrelevant to
And
me,
this time
really.
next week, we're going to be away, so maybe it's all going to end in a draw.
Maybe, we'll see. Now then, now you live on the coast and I live on the coast. And one of the things I love about the coast is the seaside and the piers,
Yeah,
right?
it's good, that, isn't it?
Now, there's
amazing. You live on the coast and you can be close to the sea as
There's
well.
a marvellous gentleman of Indian origin called Sheikh Abid Gulzar. He's 71.
Yeah.
And he bought the Eastbourne Pier after it burnt almost down.
Yeah, it was set on fire about 2 years ago, I think.
That's right. And this
amazing character, this guy.
Oh, amazing character. He's a very wealthy Indian hotelier.
Yeah.
He bought the pier and he's restored it. And
I'll tell you something about him, right?
Yeah.
He's got a gold Mercedes.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I know that is because he got it from the same place that I go to down in Eastbourne.
Okay,
the Mercedes place
well,
down there.
That makes sense.
They know him very well.
That makes sense because he's redone the pier in the sort of style you would say is very typical of his part of the world, India, right? I remember, I've never been to India, but I went to
You've
Pakistan.
never been there?
No.
And yet you know what the style is?
Well, I went to Pakistan, you see, which is a
they're two
neighbouring
different
country.
countries.
Well, it used to be the same country.
No, it didn't.
It did.
It was separated a very, very long time ago.
Yeah, I know, but they used to be the same
partition of India,
what I'm saying is,
1947.
I went with Benazir Bhutto, the returning Prime Minister.
You did not go with her.
Yeah, I did. I
No, you didn't.
I did.
No,
I
you
sat
didn't.
next to her.
Rubbish.
Mike, I sat next to her.
No way.
I'll tell you all about it one day. I sat
Okay.
next to her. And as the convoy taking her into town, built up, these incredibly colourful, beautiful lorries decked out with flowers.
This was in Lahore or somewhere.
Lahore it was, actually. Yeah, absolutely right. And so I know that sort of thing. Now, what he's done is he's restored the pier, but he's painted some prominent parts of the pier in gold.
Right.
Now, this makes sense of what you've just said about his gold Mercedes, right? Because he likes that colour and it's part of the culture he comes from.
Yeah.
But now the miserable wretches in Eastbourne.
Well, they're all balking at the fact that he's charging people to go onto the pier.
But instead of thanking him for restoring, what is clearly the most obvious indicative image of the whole town, which
the
is
old
the pier,
English seaside resort.
Instead of thanking him for restoring all that, or moaning that it's too colourful and he's painting things gold that shouldn't be. I think it's a disgrace.
I think it's a national sickness, is being critical of people, right?
Yes.
So who are doing things which are actually worthwhile.
Indeed.
Hastings had the same problem. They had a pier which was burned down, probably by kids,
Is that right?
a few years ago.
Yeah.
And had to raise funds, right? And this is one of my bugbears, because I joined in the fund because I thought it'd be good to become a friend of Hastings Pier.
Yeah.
And I sent off this note to, credit card numbers and all this to the people that were supposed to be organising it.
Yes.
I've never heard from them since.
No.
And I opened it in May.
Yeah.
And, basically, I don't know whether I'm a member of it or not.
Yeah.
And they've never taken any money from me.
Well, you see, I don't get this. Now, the point is, as he quite rightly says...
You've been to Eastbourne, by the way.
I don't think so, but I might have been. I went down to some place to give a talk on St George's Day once.
Did you?
And I think it might have been Eastbourne.
It might have been.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you know?
Because a chauffeur-driven car pulled up here after the show. We were doing this exactly the same time, 1 o'clock. Right. And they held the lunch up until 2:15.
Right.
To
allow me... You had some idea where you were going.
I can't remember. I can't remember where it was. It might have been Eastbourne. But anyway, the point of my story is that what Mr. Gulzar says is he says, if I suffer constructive criticism, I don't mind, but much of it isn't. No one has spent as much money as I have on the front in Eastbourne, and frankly, all I'm trying to do is improve things.
He's kind of like one of those guys that comes in, buys a football club, and then all the fans turn against him.
Yes.
Because he wants to change the name of the football club.
Yes, that's right.
A bit like the guy in Hull.
Yeah, but the local...
You didn't listen to that, did you?
Yes, I did. Like the guy at Hull. You've just said that.
I know.
Yeah,
I can always tell when you're moving on,
fast.
though.
I listen fast. Don't worry.
You listen
fast.
fast?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Now, what...
You don't listen at all.
Now, what the local Eastbourne Council are doing now, far from being grateful for, for Mr. Goulsar rescuing this monument to Victorian England and part of their town, they're now asking him to submit retrospective planning application to justify some of the painting on the pier. I think it's pathetic.
I know.
I think
Some of these
pathetic.
jobs worth
you
in the local councils.
You don't deserve a guy like Mr. Goulsar to come along and rescue your tatty old pier from wreckage, and it got burnt, and he's fixed it for you. Honestly.
Absolutely staggering. Absolutely staggering. Now, I got a very interesting tweet that I was going to read you earlier on. Now, Lee sent this in over the weekend.
Yes.
He said this: my 5 ideal dinner guests are the 2 Mikes, Liam Gallagher and Donald Trump.
Oh, right, okay. That would be interesting,
A few people pointed out it's only 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, never mind.
He'd be the 5th, I suppose.
I suppose he would be.
But Liam Gallagher probably wouldn't speak to you, or if he did, he'd use a bit of abusive language.
I think you'd be in big trouble if you were in the same room as
Those
Liam
tweets
Gallagher.
he sent me a couple of weeks ago are still doing the rounds at weekend.
They are.
People have a few sherbets, and they go, hey, let's send out another retweet of Liam having a go at Porky. Mad for it, you know. Yeah.
More to come. This is Talk Sport. Don't forget to follow the 2 Mikes at the 2 Mikes on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for 2 Mikes TV.